Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. Today we're going to make a necklace, and I'm just going to go over the supplies we're going to need first, then I'm going to show you the technique, and it's actually pretty easy. It'll just take you a little time to, get everything together. So what you're going to need for supplies, and this is great because you can use up odds and ends that you already have. I'm using a variety of E-beads and seed beads, and just these kind of interesting, they're kind of like a cube like cylindry type bead here that I had. It doesn't really matter. You just want to make sure that they're small enough that you can kind of make a pattern, because what we're going to do is make a tapered kind of like fringe on the front of our necklace. You're also going to need about 20 inches of chain, and you can have that shorter or longer depending on how you like your necklace to hang. I want the fringe here to hang just below my collarbone so that it will lie flat on my chest. And we're going to need a clasp. So the first thing we can do is actually put our clasp onto our chain. And for tools, I'm just going to set these containers off to the side so you can see I have bugle beads, which are these long tubes. Again, you could use a bunch of seed beads if you want. Got a couple colors of seed beads and a couple E-size beads. So, any combination you have is going to be fine. Use colors you like. If you like warmer colors, you could use gold chain. If you like cooler colors, you could use silver chain, but feel free to do whatever you think looks good. There's no real rules. So what I'm going to do here is open up these jump rings. So you're going to need 2 jump rings, and I use 2 pliers to do this, and what I do is I twist to open them. Hopefully this will show up. I do have a basic beading video on my channel if you want some more information about basic beading techniques. And what I'm going to do is I am going to put that jump ring on the last chain of the last link of my chain, and then I'm going to put an end of my clasp in, and I'm using a toggle clasp because I find those the easiest to use. And I'm just going to hope that everything stays in focus here while I'm doing that. Now I am going to grab this jump ring here with my pliers, and then grab the other side and close it up. You always twist it to close, and that way you'll get a nice secure closure. And you're going to do the exact same thing on the other side of your chain with your loop clasp here. Okay, so I'll do that off camera because it's the same exact thing. So to make our little dangly things, what I've done is I've done half of the danglies that I need, I just call them charms, for my necklace. I'm going to turn this so that I can zoom in, and you can kind of see how they're going to hang, and they're going to kind of make like a fringe. So this one in the middle is my longest piece. So I'm going to show you this. I'm just going to hold it and hopefully the camera focuses. So I've got a headpin. That's what these things are here. I'll list all of these supplies in the video description so you don't have to write it down. I have a 2-inch headpin here. And so it's got it's like a piece of wire with like a little nail head on the end. That's what a headpin is. Oh, it doesn't want to focus on that, but it looks like a long skinny nail. And so what I have here is a seed bead, an E-size square bead, but any bead about that size. You could use a larger bead if you like, a focal bead. Nothing too big, but use what you have and what you like. This is a great use up your leftovers project. Then I have an E-bead. Then I have a bugle bead, which is these long cylinders. Then I have a seed bead, E-bead, seed bead, bugle bead, seed bead, and E-bead. So then on the next one, I'm doing the exact same thing, except I'm subtracting that bead at the top. And I'm going to do that all the way along until I've got to this pattern here where it's just seed bead, the kind of focally square E-bead, a regular E-bead, bugle bead, seed bead, E-bead, and C-bead. But of course you could have it end on a shorter, you could keep going with more tapers, or you could even leave it longer and only have, 4 or 5 dangles. That's totally fine. So to bead this, I'm just going to show you how I do this on one, and then I'll finish off the rest of these off camera, and then I'll show you how to attach them. So I'm going to start off with my seed bead here, and I find it easier just to put them out on the board and then pick them up with the headpin itself. I'm going to pick up this kind of cylinder around an E-size bead. Then I'm going to pick up a E-bead here, one of the tan ones, and use colors that match your complexion. They can be wild colors, they don't all have to be similar to each other. Now our bugle bead, I'll actually pick that one up. You just have to make sure the bugle beads will fit your headpins. Sometimes you'll get headpins that are too fat to hold the bugle beads. And then we're going to add a seed bead, an E bead, and a seed bead again. So we got a, I'll just bring an E bead over here. So we've got our seed bead. You've got our E bead, another seed bead. Then we're going to go back to our bugle bead. This guy right there. Oh, look, that one's a damaged one, so I want to throw that away. Sometimes when you get your beads, like I'll get assortments at the craft store, or I used to, I don't anymore, but I used to, and I have a lot of those to use up. Sometimes you end up with oddballs that just don't want to, that will have cracks and stuff. But it's a nice option if you just want a variety of small beads for crafting. I think I got, well, this one I think I made this assortment myself, but you can get similar assortments at like Joann's, like that. But there will be, they're not all uniform. So then I'm going to go with a seed bead, just a seed bead, because I've got a seed bead and an E bead here, and this is my longest one, and this is going to be the next smallest size, so I'm subtracting one bead. So the next one I do, I will subtract, I won't have that one, I'll end the bugle bead. Then the next one I'll actually use 3 of these smaller seed beads, because you know, the bugle, to just get rid of the bugle bead would be too big of a jump, and this is about 4 seed beads long, so I'll end up with something that looks like that, and so on and so forth. And I will show you this when we get to that step, and I'll take a picture of it so I can post it on my blog. In case you're confused, I'll photograph it against something light so you can see the layout of all of those beaded things. So once you get to the end, now on your longest one you'll also have an E bead on the end, okay? And that's going to pretty much take up your 2-inch head pin, okay? So I already have my longest one, so I'm just going to remove that. What you want to do when you're done your beaded head pin is you're going to make a bend as close as you can to that top bead. Okay, you want to do the same steps every time. Have the same distance every time, because that's going to keep your taper nice. It's going to keep a nice gentle taper there. So I need about 1/4 of an inch. Oops, my little seed bead slid off the end there. You want 1/4 of an inch to make your loop, and that loop is what's going to attach it to the chain. So I have just a hair over 1/4 of an inch, so I'm going to trim that down, and I can do that just with these pliers here. This is a 3-in-1 tool. I highly recommend having something like this. It's the first tool you should get when you're jewelry making, because you'll use it for everything. So I got about 1/4 of an inch there. What I'm going to do is just grab the wire right towards the end of right at the end, as close. I want to kind of tuck that wire in so I can barely grasp it, and I'm going to turn it towards myself and let go. Okay, now I have a little hook there. Can you see that little hook? Then I'm going to put my plier back in, and I'm going to turn it the rest of the way, so I end up with a nice and tidy little loop on top. So you do that to each one. Just remember, each head pin that you bead, you're going to subtract a bead, and when you get to the bugles, you will use some seed beads to take up the space. So when I take away that bugle bead, I will use 3 seed beads, because that will just let it step down in an increment. I hope that makes sense. If not, you can let me know in the comments, or go to my blog and look at the photograph that shows these all done. So I'm going to finish up and bead the rest of these. So I've got this half done. I'm just going to finish up that half, and then I'll show you how to attach them to the necklace. Okay, I just wanted to show you how the head pins look. This is the middle one in the center that's the longest, has an extra E bead on the top, and then they get smaller. So I actually misremembered. I used 4 green beads first when I stepped down from that bugle bead, then went 3, 2, 1, and none. So I just wanted to clarify that, and again, this photo of this will be on my blog. Alright, so now we need to find the midpoint of our chain. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook the clasp here. I put the other side in off camera because it was exactly the same way as the first side. Alright, and then I'm going to find the center link. Alright, it's right there. So I am going to grab a cloth to set down to work on, because it's going to be a little bit easier to lay out and see. Okay, now this is up to you. You can use a jump ring to attach these, or you can attach them right from the loop, right to the link. I'm going to go right from the loop here because I think they're going to have plenty of movement, and it doesn't matter if they twist around because they're going to look the same from all sides, because you know, they're on a head pin. So what you're going to do is you can hold the headpin in your hands. And you don't need 2 pliers for this. You can just simply give it a twist to open it. Now I'm going to go into that center link that I marked off. If you're a link off, it's not the end of the world. Okay, so I've got my headpin in that center link. I'm going to give it a second just to focus so you can see. I hope it focuses. Otherwise, this could be all for naught. And I'm just going to twist it closed. So you really just need the 1 plier for this. Now, you can go right into the next link with the next headpin. So it's like that, and they're going to hang really, really close together. Okay? If you want them really close together, just go right into the next link. If you want them to space out a little bit, you can go over 1 link. So it just depends. Do you want a little bit of a gap in there, or do you want them right next to each other? So what you can do is spread the chain out. I'm going to zoom in. Get that center one hooked. So once you get that center one hooked, you don't have to worry so much because you're not going to lose your place. So you can see if you like them better close together. I'm just going to do this with one side just to figure out how I like it. And it's going to have more of a drape to it because when it's hanging on your neck, it's going to drape down to a V, like a V-neck. But I just kind of want to just see. Okay, so that's close together, which I like. Or if you want to skip it out, you could skip them out to every other one. And that's going to give you a wider collar. So completely up to you. Just pick one and just keep repeating that pattern. And then you're just going to attach them all the same in that descending order so you end up with that taper. All right, I'm going to do that off camera and we'll be back when it's all done. Okay, all of the beads are on here. Something I forgot to mention that I wanted to make sure I did mention before we were done here is that often your headpins are going to be a little bendy. And what you want to do is either get a pair of these nylon jaw pliers, or you can wrap like some cloth around a regular extra pair of pliers, and then you just want to pull the nylon jaw pliers over the headpin, and that will straighten it out. So if you got some bent ones, oftentimes they'll just have a little bit of a bend to them because they're made from wire. That way you can straighten them out and you can get them straight enough so that they'll hang right when you make your necklace. And there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I think this will be a really fun and easy necklace to wear, and it will go with a lot of things from jeans and a t-shirt to something a little dressier if you want. And you can use up some leftovers, or if you've never beaded before, you can get the supplies in a little kit. Honestly, you can get a little kit like this for $10 at Joann's, and a little packet of chain and a clasp, and you can get started that way too. I want to thank you so much for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this jewelry making tutorial. Until next time, happy crafting.